This is an RNZ podcast.
They say it takes a village to raise a child. I'm Kathryn Ryan, and here we draw on my conversations with experts on 9 to Noon to help you navigate family life. Well, to building or rebuilding healthy relationships with your children, a Northland iwi is adding its own flavour to the international The Incredible Years parenting program. Parents or caregivers who sign up with the Kaitaia-based program can expect to understand their tamariki's development better, learn techniques to encourage positive behaviour, and have role-play ideas for when behaviour gets challenging. It's a 14-week program endorsed by the Ministries of Health, Social Development and Education. In Kaitaia, Te Rarawa has been holding Incredible Years sessions twice a year, just about since the idea first took on back in 2008. They're just into their second semester this year. Te Rarawa accredited Incredible Years group leader, Naomi Austen-Reid, says she loves the program. She is with us from Kaitaia. Tēnā koe and welcome, Naomi.
Morena.
Lovely to talk to you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, that's great. Could you just recap? We've spoken quite a while ago now, we've spoken about the Incredible Years program. So could you recap for listeners how it comes at things and what it offers parents?
Cool. So it's a 14-week program, and the expectation is whānau come to us for one session a week, which is around 2.5 hours. And each week we equip them with some new tools and some new strategies that they can take home and practice for a week. So we kind of call it homework, but it's not really homework. And so it's just a progression. We start off with some really simple techniques and just learning to enjoy your family and your children and spending quality time with them. And start there. We build a really solid foundation, and then we finish off with some other techniques that some people like to experience at the beginning, but we say to them, if you do all this other awesome mahi with your children, then you're less likely to need the pointy end of the pyramid, we call it.
What is the pyramid is kind of one of the bases or bases of how this program happens, isn't it? Can you just explain what the pyramid is, the parenting pyramid?
Yeah, sure. So we talk about in the pyramid that, to have a really good relationship with your children, you have to have a solid foundation. And so, we look at a pyramid and it's very low and flat at the bottom, and that's the grounding. That's where all the hard work happens. And then through the pyramid, it just builds up on layers until it gets to the top. And so our main focus of the building of the foundation is play, how to play with our children, and then through that, how we can coach them or teach them or communicate with them. Different, not so much strategies at this point, but it's more about how we can encourage them to be their awesome little incredible selves. Yeah. And then, so it takes about 4 weeks of working with whānau to build that foundation. And then we start to really move into some awesome positive stuff, like learning about praise and what gets in the way of praise, or what are the benefits of praise and how impactful it is on our children. We talk about household rules, being very clear with our communication and our expectations. And then we move into other things like limit setting. Where else do we go? I'm trying to picture the pyramid.
I'm looking at it. I've got it in front of me here. What is the kaupapa, Naomi, and particularly when it comes to the relationship between the group leader, you're the trainer or the group leader, and the parents? Like, what is the way you come at how this information is imparted and shared and developed?
I think the really important part is the whanaungatanga. So we actually go and meet whānau and talk to them in their homes, with their permission, of course, and just ask them what are their parenting goals, what's your expectation of the program. I mean, we could sit there and tell them what the program's about, but it's nice to hear their voice and what are their concerns and what they specifically need support with, because then, when we actually start delivering to them in a group setting, we can say, hey, remember we talked about learning how to do colours or something. That was something that you really wanted to work on. So it's a nice little highlight, and they feel really acknowledged by that because it's like actually they cared, they listened, they want to support me. And it's really nice in that we don't claim to be the expert. We are not the expert, and we tell them this constantly. You know, we're here to equip them with some really cool strategies and tools, but at the end of the day, they are the expert of their children, and we're just there to support.
There are several separate parenting programs offered by the Incredible Years. Which age group is yours focusing on, Te Rarawa's focusing on?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a combination of the preschool and school age basic parent program. And so we specifically look at whānau with children aged 3 to 8. Yeah.
That's interesting because we get that first precious 1,000 days, don't we? That first 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then what happens between 3 and 8? That you, quite a lot.
Yeah.
What happens? What frequently becomes the subject of, parents saying, I really need some help with this, or this is what the issues are. What presents itself typically over and again?
Well, we're lucky with our iwi and our social services branch. We have other programs so that targets our prenatal 0 to 3 whānau, and then that's when we come in. So we're just like a support mechanism for that, and we do have other programs. But our one is basically that you've moved out of the terrible 2, which should really be called the terrible 3s now. No, so we notice a lot of challenges for whānau at 3, and that is where children are discovering their own independence. Also, still relying on their codependence in parents. So it's kind of like this is where it's our chance to support our whānau to help children realise their own independence, but at the same time they still need our support and awhi and heaps of other things from us that it might be challenging for us. We're like, I don't know what to do here. So, that's where we jump in.
And it's just practical skills, things to say, often ways to react or not react. And we know you've mentioned the terrible 2s or 3s. We know that tantrum, they're gone for all money, and that sometimes you've just got to wait it out. It's just really practical stuff.
It's very practical, and that's what I like. It takes on a whole different way of delivery as well. It's not just us standing up in front of a classroom teaching. It's definitely not that way of delivering the kaupapa. It's very much, we use lots of different strategies, but we have little video clips that we show of other parents doing parenting stuff. It's quite nice because you can have a laugh at it and think, oh my gosh, that's me. Or you can go, what's that silly mum or dad doing? Because we know better, I feel. And this is parents' feedback, not our own group leaders' feedback. And we use that. We use lots of brainstorming and buzz activities, to get some really good kōrero from the whānau, because it is about their voice. And we also do little role plays, which is funny because everyone hates role plays, but we always remind them that it's a really important time to practice. We practice this now so that when you go home, you won't feel pressured, or you've actually used the words and the strategies. And so this is your chance now to have a practice and laugh at yourself or whatever, and then you can go home and do it with your own kids.
How has the iwi shaped it to itself? And I know this happens also in the Auckland programs, Pacifica community. So how have you made it your own and really included tikanga and really embraced it?
Yeah. So we started back in 2011, and that's when I started as well. And for us, being an iwi provider, we thought the most important people that we should consult with first are our kahui kaumatua. They guide our whānau up here, and our marae, and they're really, really, really important people in our community. And they've been parents themselves, and now they're grandparents. So having their input has been the best thing that we've done. We use them especially for things like whakatauki that are for our area, so that We try to, for example, we would try to pick a whakatauki that would fit with a topic of the day. So perhaps one that we might like to use is a hako he pounamu, which is, even though it is very small, it is precious. And so we like to put stuff in there so that it gives, we're responsive to our Māori whānau, and that, it's not just an English program, not English, an American program, but we are guided by our kaumatua and kuia. Yeah.
Who comes to the Kaitaia courses?
We have mums, dads, nanas, papas, aunties, caregivers, anyone that has a child aged between 3 and 8. We don't make it specifically for anyone. We want it for everybody.
And some people, word gets out, I imagine. In other cases, there might be people who say, look, I think you could really do with this kind of support. So there might be referrals. There's all sorts of ways through. Yeah.
So we do get referrals. So, like, it might be a cousin say, hey, you need to go and do that program, I've seen you with your children. And, we can laugh about it and be silly because it's, at the end of the day, we're all just wanting to do the best by our families. So, we take everybody, referrals from all sorts of different places. We don't discriminate. We want everyone on board.
Let's look at some of what parents really want to know, and it's obviously it's giving practical skills, but is it also for many, and particularly perhaps new parents, working out what's happening with their child and their child's behaviour? Is that a big focus?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. It's not just new parents. It's people who have had, up to 3-4 children, and they've just got to the point where they've said, hey, I think I want to try something different. And because it is so positive and it's very empowering, I think that, like, the catch here is that, let's try a different way. It's something positive.
Praise is important in the process, and is that sometimes also you find yourself needing to explain its impact on behaviour?
Yeah. It can be a challenge to get that message across sometimes because, we've had experience where whānau have said, I was never praised as a child, so I don't know what to say. And, and that's a barrier for some. So that's one really important part for us is we give them the tools or we give them the words, or the rest of the whānau in the group will say, well, this is what I say to my little person when he's doing a great job. And sometimes it's not even just the words. Sometimes it's a high five, it's a pat on the back, it's a little hug. So, it's more than just words sometimes. But we do encourage whānau to learn about specific praise and the real impact. If you praise a child for something that they've done really, it actually could be quite a simple task, like you brushed your teeth this morning and mum didn't ask. Simple stuff like that.
And how it feeds the motivation. Yeah.
It does. And sometimes, because some behaviours need a little bit more encouragement, like a sticker chart or whatever, but sometimes your words are so much more powerful, especially, and this is the key to praise, it has to be immediate. So you can't say to your child, you made your bed this morning at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you get home from school. It has to be said then.
Also, just making that time, and people are so busy, so many demands, making that time, how little time just really focused on one child can make a huge difference both to parent and child and getting to know each other.
Yeah, and honestly, and this is the part I find most rewarding about the job, is hearing the tiny little success stories that whānau have. And because by them sharing it with us all, it makes others want to try it. And so we talk about, so I give an example because my children at the time were 6 and 8, and I'd already built up a really awesome relationship with my children. But I said to them, I did it by, being a working mum. You'd come home, you'd get them to help you cook dinner. Through cooking dinner, you'd talk about the kids' day. In the same breath, you don't even realise you're teaching them how to count how many pieces of carrot they've cut. What is the colour of a carrot? They should know all this anyway, but you're just saying it instinctively as you're doing it with your children. And that's where I find that as a parent, you find out what your common ground is with your child. My son loved Lego. I cannot stand Lego. I want it to all go up the vacuum cleaner. But my son, that was his thing, and so we played Lego. We encourage just 10 to 15 minutes a day of just stopping and spending time with your children. And, 10 to 15 minutes of Lego turns into about 2 hours. You're enjoying yourself, and you don't want it to stop, and neither do the children.
Where are we at with the persistent child? Where are we at with things like time out and, some of the discipline side of trying to encourage behaviour change?
Yeah. And so obviously for some kids we can try everything, and we do need to use different strategies. We actually do like a lot of other stuff before we even get to time out, like learning about ignore and being actually consistent with ignoring. But when we do move into timeout, it's actually a very structured process, and we can't just implement it. Like, you actually have to sit down with your kids and have a discussion about, mummy needs to help you. You seem to be struggling with this sort of stuff, and I'm going to help you to learn to calm down. Because for a lot of littlies, it's they don't have the words of how to communicate how they're feeling, and so most children react physically, breaking, hitting, busting, that sort of stuff, because they don't have the words. So it is about us teaching them the right words to use, especially when they're feeling a feeling in that moment. And then, so we talk about timeout. It's not punitive. It is not a punishment. We really remind whānau that it's a time for our little people to go and have a little think, just to calm down. And then we even teach the parents little strategies that you can teach the children to teach themselves how to calm down while they're in timeout. I know people have labelled it like the naughty chair or the bad spot or whatever they might like to use. We really discourage that, because you're labelling something a physical place, something, therefore you're labelling the child that as well. And we don't want our children to feel like, I'm being naughty again. We just want them to feel that it's safe for me to, actually, I need to go and chill out. Yeah, a little bit of self-reflection, especially when they get older.
Have parents made friendships out of this as well? I'm just thinking about some of the role-playing. I don't know, how much this happens, but people make friends and allies in the task as a result of doing the program.
Yes, and that's such another really cool part about the program. We encourage, we call them buddies, so we try and pair people up, and it's a phone call, or it's a little text, or it's a little private message on Facebook to say, hey mate, how's your day going? I hope it's all good. And so that's just a little thing for them to do as peer thing. But then we also have a forum where we call them every week and just check in and make sure they're okay. And if they need to problem solve something, we can support them through that. And we've, as a group, I've made personally as a group leader, have made so many friends out of it. And it's really nice because I'm seeing kids now from 2008, and now I'm seeing these little kids all grown up, and they're really amazing kids. And it's quite, warms your heart, really warms your heart. And for some, they start their own little private coffee groups and little things like that. So, I feel like it's a really good way of connecting people, especially if you're new to the area as well.
It's the old It Takes a Village, which is actually the title of this parenting program's podcast. And lovely to see the contribution you've made there. Lovely to talk. Thank you, Naomi Austen-Reid, who is one of the trainers and group leaders of the Incredible Years parenting program, which has been adapted by the Northland iwi Te Rarawa and is in Kaitaia.